Hi, grade 7. We are in chapter 21, lesson 3, human space travel. We are going to do the workbook exercises, page 221, 222, and 223. So the first one, we have to describe technologies associated with space travel, then explain why rockets are used to launch artificial satellites. The answers are on page 781. So first, artificial satellite. It's any human-made object placed in orbit around a body in space. This is what an artificial satellite is. And the rocket, it's a vehicle propelled by the exhaust made from burning fuel. And the explanation, only a rocket can travel far enough and fast enough to escape Earth's gravity and lift an artificial satellite into orbit. Now, contrast three types of space probes. The answers are on page 782. First, the definition. It's an uncrewed vehicle that travels to and obtains information about objects in space. I have the flyby. It flies by space objects without orbiting or landing. The second type is an orbiter, and it's placed into orbit around a distant space object. And the third one is the lander. This one lands on the surface of a distant space object. So these are the three types and their descriptions. Challenges for human in space. We have to evaluate the challenge of solar radiation for astronauts, and the answers are on page 783. The problem is the solar radiation is harmful to life forms not protected by Earth's atmosphere, and the solution is spacecraft and spacesuits provide the protection. Distinguish ways human space travelers get the oxygen they need. And I have two kinds of trips, the short trips and the longer trips. And the answers are on page 783. So in the short trips, spacecraft carry tanks of nitrogen and oxygen, which are mixed on board. Whereas in longer trips, electric current passed through water separates hydrogen and oxygen. Identify 6 ways in which an astronaut's EMU suit provides protection. The answer is on page 784. So I have extravehicular mobility unit, controls pressure, it controls the temperature, it provides oxygen, it protects from radiation, it protects from meteoroids, and it enables communication. So these are the 6 ways in which the suit of the astronaut provides the protection. Now, point out an advantage and 2 disadvantages of working in microgravity. So the answer is on page 784. Concerning the advantage, I have massive objects that can be easily removed. And disadvantages, on the short term, tasks such as turning a screwdriver can be more difficult, and long term, the bones and the muscles will lose the mass and the strength. Characterize the International Space Station ISS. So the answers are on page 785. So the power source is the solar panels. We use it for scientific and medical experiments. The interior size, it's about equal to 2 jumbo jets. The crew size up to 7 ongoing. Possible future use, testing and repair station for missions to the moon and beyond. And location in orbit 400 kilometers above Earth's surface. Compare and contrast the space shuttle with the transportation systems used to send people to the moon. And the answer is on page 786. Both were launched with rockets. Spacecraft that took astronauts to the moon were used only once, whereas space shuttles were reusable on many missions. So this is the difference between the two. So synthesize it, differentiate the challenges of uncrewed versus crewed space flight. So both require launch vehicles that can escape Earth's gravity, and they require equipment that can withstand the extreme conditions of space. But crewed space travel is much more challenging though, because it requires keeping people alive in hostile environments. And that's it. Thank you very much. Great.